Alright, so Sean O'Malley just lost his rematch with Merab Dvalishvili last night at UFC 316 after he got submitted in the third round. And although there were some noticeable improvements to his game this time around, I wouldn't really say that this was any better of a performance from the first fight, and it's pretty clear that he didn't deserve to be given an immediate title shot. And in order to prop up O'Malley as a deserving title challenger, the UFC pulled out a shameless pro-O'Malley propaganda campaign this past week. But when the best reasons that both Sean and the UFC could come up with for why this fight would be in his favor is that he stopped smoking weed, or that he didn't color his hair, or that he stopped beating his meat, it always just felt like they were grasping at straws. Of course, the UFC needs to find ways to promote one of their golden geese like Sean, but the result of this fight was never going to be any different than the first one. And I think it's great that he's made changes in his life so that he can be happier and healthier, but lifestyle choices aside, I think where he's really being held back is with his coach Tim Welch, and yeah, in this video I'm going to be talking about all this and more. But first, let's talk about the fight itself. Sean started off a lot stronger than I expected, and for most of the first round, he was able to stick and move and even defend some takedowns. Sean's footwork has always been solid, and he was able to stay away from Morav for the first half of the round while landing some jabs, crosses, and a couple of front kicks up to the body. Honestly, up until Morav got a hold of Sean at 2:20 on the fight clock, I had Sean winning the round, but of course, Morav just does what he does. He was able to take the fight to the ground and make O'Malley work his way back up to his feet. Sean definitely grabbed onto the cage twice that the referee somehow didn't see, and even though he was able to reclaim some space, Morav was able to get him down again with about a minute left on the clock and ended the round with some pretty solid ground and pound. Second round was a good round for Sean. He was able to defend like all 3 or 4 of Merab's takedown attempts, and he landed some really good shots on the feet. This was probably the second best round that Sean has put up against Morav, with his best being round 5 in the first fight. But even still, I think I scored this round for Dvalishvili based on pressure and volume of strikes landed. There's really not much to say about the third round. Less than 30 seconds into the round, Merab picked Sean up like a baby and threw him to the ground. And for the next 4 minutes straight, O'Malley tried to fight his way back up to his feet, only for Morav to drag him back to the mat. With about 30 seconds left on the clock, Sean ended up getting so desperate to get back to a standing position that he left his neck wide open and Morav went for a choke. Sean tried to escape it by flipping onto his back, but it ended up putting him in a worse position and he was forced to tap. Like I said at the top of this video, Sean's takedown defense seemed to have improved a lot since UFC 306, but at the same time, Morav's kinda known for shooting takedowns without the intention of completing them, so it's kinda hard to say whether or not Sean actually defended the takedowns or if Morav just wanted to get into his head. And if you want me to be honest, this was probably Merab's easiest fight in a while. I mean, it's his first submission win in the UFC ever, his second finish in the UFC period, and at no point did it ever feel like Sean was in the lead. He had good moments, but they were pretty few and far between, and throughout the fight it just constantly felt like he was fighting like he was afraid of being taken down. And I don't know, if it was Corey Sandhagen or Petr Yan in there last night, maybe Morav would have made it look just as easy, who can really say? What I do know, however, is that Sean was just not ready for an immediate rematch against this guy, and that this was just another example of corrupt UFC matchmaking where they were hoping that one of their more marketable fighters could get the upset win over a champion who probably doesn't sell that many pay-per-views. To be fair, I don't blame them for thinking that Sean could pull it off, seeing as this is exactly what they did when Aljamain Sterling was champion, and it worked out for them then. But at least Sean's first title fight was somewhat justifiable. He was on a 5-fight unbeaten streak, even though one of those fights was the Pedro Munoz no contest. But after the Munoz fight, he surprised a lot of people with how well he went toe-to-toe with Petr Yan, and even though I personally scored that fight for Yan, O'Malley did enough to earn the judge's decision that night. Don't get me wrong, if I were the UFC matchmakers at that time, I probably would have given Corey Sandhagen the title shot against Aljo, but the UFC has to make money, so they gave it to Sean. I don't agree with it, but I understand why they did it. But this time around, what did Sean do to earn this title shot? It's not like he was some sort of dominant champion who defended the belt multiple times. His one successful title defense was against Chito Vera in a cherry-picked fight. And I know that there are some people out there who for some reason think that Sean won the first fight with Morav, but I'm certainly not one of them. This was a joke of a rematch and the UFC knew it, which is why they tried to promote the fight by saying that this is some sort of brand new refocused Sean O'Malley and that this time around it's going to be a whole different fight. Dude, UFC 306 was 7 months ago. How different of a fight was it going to be? How different of a guy was Sean going to be? Dana was literally praying for Sean to win this fight. Just look at the YouTube thumbnails that they went for on this week's UFC Embedded series. All of them have Sean's face in them, and the first 4 episodes are just him. ESPN MMA basically turned into a Sean O'Malley fan page this past week. Look, I totally get that Sean is a flashy striker who's also American, and he also resonates with a younger demographic and all, but hey, UFC, how about you guys promote the actual champion of the division a little bit? Of course, Morav as champion will never move the same amount of pay-per-views as Sean as champion would, but at the same time, if the UFC continues to outright refuse to promote this guy, then they're only hurting themselves. Morav is never going to be some sort of star that transcends the boundaries of the sport or whatever, but I actually do think that he has enough personality and just general weirdness that the UFC can do something with. My God, let's talk about the narrative surrounding Sean heading into this fight.
I'm like jealous at the point you're at right now. Like you're at the point where you have someone else running your socials completely. So you're not on the Instagram, you're not on the Snapchat, you're not even on X.
No.
Not even on X.
How long?
Just YouTube. It's been a whole year. It's been the whole. I mean,
Really?
it's been this whole year. I haven't smoked, haven't drank, haven't jerked the old turkey.
What the fuck? Really?
Not once. Not once.
Making us look bad. That's fucking.
Well, every time I do it too, I'm like, I'm a bitch. How does Sean not do it?
So Tim Welch offhandedly brought up that Sean had made some lifestyle changes after the first Morav loss, and let's just say that the UFC and MMA media really ran with it throughout this fight week. On the Embedded series, the UFC Countdown, and during press conferences, we would just get bombarded about how Sean cut out bad habits and how he's so much more focused. Oh my God, you're no longer playing video games and now you're playing Texas Hold'em instead? How's that affected your mentality heading into the fight? Oh, you're off social media now too? Does that mean you're thinking in the fourth dimension? Sean, you're not gooning all the time anymore either? Do you think that's going to give you more power to knock out Morav? Gilbert Burns and Hanato Moicano's Show Me the Money podcast literally titled their most recent episode about how Sean stopped jerking his meat.
Sean O'Malley, according to his coach and according to everyone talking, he gave up smoking weed, gave up all of his bad habits, porn, weed, social media. He's family focused. He's healthy.
You gonna follow him on that?
That's what he said, bro.
Like, guys, what are we even doing here right now? Yes, I think it's great for Sean that he's cutting out bad habits in his life, but the way that people were talking about his lifestyle changes made it seem like he spent 3 years in the hyperbolic time chamber. The guy stopped doing these things for 7 months. This was not going to be enough to overcome a lifetime's worth of Merab's focus and dedication. And it's not even that. Like, it's awesome that Sean took steps in his life towards being more present, but can we ask the guy what he's done to improve his wrestling, his grappling, or his submission defense? Because call me crazy, I feel like those were the real issues from his first fight with Morav, not how much video games he played. And I don't mean to be a smartass here when I say this, but seeing as he lost even quicker this time around, maybe getting rid of all of those bad habits wasn't the best idea after all. Obviously, I'm kidding about that last part, but I'm serious when I say that it got to the point where every time Sean was asked about his lifestyle improvements, it made me roll my eyes so hard that I could see my brain. Sean was just unprepared for this fight. He was every bit as unprepared for this fight as the previous one, and I do think that has a lot to do with his coaching. And on that note, I do not think it's a good idea for Sean or any fighter to be best friends with their coach. Because when your coach is your best friend, who's really holding you accountable? You can't tell me that Tim Welch, who films podcasts with Sean all the time, splitting business ventures with him, and basically living in his little ecosystem of OMalley Incorporated, is coming into training camp and saying, hey bro, you looked like absolute dog shit in sparring today, get your act together. When your livelihood is tied to your best friend's success, objectivity becomes real blurry real fast. And this is not me denying that Tim Welch has helped craft Sean into the fighter that he is today. He absolutely has. The footwork, the feints, the timing, that is not by accident. Tim Welch deserves his flowers for building the foundation, but there is a difference between building the skill set that got you to the top and managing the career that keeps you there. Let's be real for a second. Once you hit that championship level, the margin for error shrinks to nothing. You're not dealing with Chito Vera and Chris Moutinho anymore. You are dealing with guys like Morav, Umar, and Sandhagen who understand that it's fighting first and content second. And at the championship level of the UFC, you need a coach who's willing to walk in the room and tell it like it is to their fighter. But because Tim is so wrapped up in the OMalley brand, he's just not that guy, and frankly, I don't think he wants to be that guy. I think it's a lot easier and more comfortable for him to ride the Sean high, promote their podcast, and stay within this bubble of positivity, manifestation, and good vibes. That might work for content creation, it might even work for a certain part of your MMA career, but it's not the formula that produces long-reigning champions. There's no separation of church and state here, it's a conflict of interest, the brand is too intertwined. And when your priority is protecting the brand, you are less likely to take the necessary risks that might ruffle some feathers but ultimately help you grow as a fighter. Like, for example, bringing Sean some outside wrestling coaches or sending Sean 2-3 years Dagestan and forget. That would do wonders for Sean's defensive grappling, but will they do it? I doubt it. It's important to have a good relationship with your coach and to trust them, but to literally have them be your best friend and content partner creates a risk for having them become your yes man. Maybe Tim's a yes man, maybe he's not, but he definitely gives corner advice like he's a yes man. He's always too afraid to be stern with Sean in between rounds, and even when the chips are down in a fight, he doesn't have any sense of urgency. I really think that Sean should spend some time at other gyms to work on the weaker areas of his game because I'm not confident that he's getting everything that he needs with Tim. Anyways, that's the video for today. Definitely let me know your thoughts on the UFC 316 main event. Is Morav the greatest bantamweight of all time? I personally think so, and what's the likelihood that OMalley can get another title shot? As always, if you like the video, then like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Honestly, that's fucking hard. It really is. If I give up porn, I'm fucking, look at you, Joe, going at it. Fucking.
And do you have a set time
His alarm goes off.
No, do you have a set time where it's your special time where you get to
No,
sit and-
it's I try to fucking not watch porn because I'll get into those throes of passion, which it turns into a couple hours. That's